Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about a problem with the idea that heavy 5 rep sets are great tools for developing maximum strength. And it's something that we need to clarify, and I want people to understand there's a difference between base building for a novice lifter versus people who've already built a bit of a base who are trying to get bigger and stronger. And that's just, again, this whole idea that 5 rep sets somehow build maximum strength. And I'm going to kind of create the argument for the fact that they're a really bad tool. They're a terrible tool for that. And I would point out that novice lifters themselves don't have good strength. Even if they've built a base off of a 5x5 or a 3x5, they're still really, really, really weak. Okay, they're really weak. I don't see novice lifters squatting 500 pounds. So even then, even though they've gotten stronger, they obviously haven't developed phenomenal strength off of it. Because squatting 300 for 5 reps just isn't that impressive. So, back over to the point. This is one of the things that gets batted around out there and gets misconstrued, and I think it's one of the worst aspects of it are when we see people from the bodybuilding side of the fitness world who see something like a 5x5 and they actually think that that's heavy strength training. They're like, oh yeah, that's really heavy. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not that heavy. In fact, that's bodybuilder routine. 5x5 itself was written and performed by bodybuilders originally. That's an old school bodybuilder method. And it's good for base building for novices, but when we get to a certain point, 5s just don't cut the mustard anymore. 5s are useful for novice lifters who need to go fairly heavy, but they still need enough training volume to get hypertrophy. Well, the problem you get into eventually is that number one, it's too light to build maximum strength, so you don't get maximum strength out of it. Number two, it's too hard to generate enough total workload to get great hypertrophy out of it as someone gets more advanced. So it kind of falls into an area of it turns into, at a certain threshold, a form of training that just has a higher injury risk without necessarily the benefits that you want. You don't always gain great muscle on it. You're not going to gain phenomenal strength on it because it's a hybrid style of rep range that works great for people for base building. But you have to get these things a little more specialized as you become more advanced. You really do. And the point is, to develop maximum strength, you have to go above 90% of your max. You have to learn to strain and push maximally against weights that exceed 90%. Now, that's defined with what I do and what a lot of lifters do with the system I use, to where we rotate through just different exercises and we just learn to strain and push against nearly maximum weights using 30 different exercises, right? All these variations. And we're learning to strain. The problem is that, you will see people who will say, well, can't I just use 5 rep sets to do that because I'm straining on the last rep? And it's not like you're getting specificity because you're rotating all these lifts all the time. It's like, no, but I'm getting strong and learning to maximally strain at 30 different angles and movement patterns and grip widths, and it makes you just all around strong. It teaches you to learn how to hit a maximum weight at any awkward angle safely at any time you need to. All right, this is why this sort of training is really, really good for sports, by the way, especially contact sports. Phenomenal for it. Works very well, just throwing that out there. If you guys are going to do any sort of contact sport, you might want to look into conjugate training. Be a real good idea. You are not going to find anything equal or better to it. And there are plenty of coaches who agree, who get people NFL contracts. So, little side note there. But it's not the same thing. You're like, but I'm straining. No, you're straining against a moderate weight. You are fatigued. You're working with 86, 87%, maybe a little more of your 1 rep max. You are not hitting 90% for 5 reps. If you can do it for 5 reps and you think it's 90%, you have very much miscalculated, or you really suck at maxing. You're terrible at maxing because there is no way you can do 90% of your max for 5 reps. So you fall back into that category of someone who doesn't know how to use maximum strength. It's probably because you've done too many goofy fives as a more advanced lifter. Again, I'm not saying it's bad for base building. It's phenomenal for base building. But that's all it is. It's base building. And here's the problem. You're creating fatigue first. You're now grabbing a moderately heavy weight. You're using a weight that is now heavy enough to hurt you if something goes wrong. Because realistically, and this is where people get shocked, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to get hurt with 70% of your max. If you're getting hurt with 70% of your max, something is dramatically wrong. Like you don't know how to lift. Because honestly, if 70% of your squat max pinned you to the floor and you took the safeties out and you got stuck under it, if you have any sort of base or structure, you could just push it off your back and roll forward and crawl out from under it. Unless it breaks your neck, that just landing on top of your body shouldn't be able to hurt you. Okay, it's 70% of your squat max. A lot of people are going to be like, what? Are you serious? Like, yeah, I'm dead serious. 70% of your bench max, if it sticks on your chest from failure, you should be able to just roll it across your stomach and just flex your abs and bounce it off your abs onto the floor. Okay? That's nothing. So, we're dealing with a weight, though, that's heavy enough to hurt you. And then you're taking it to a point of fatigue. You've reached a point of muscular fatigue, usually. Well, you're using muscle fatigue to make yourself weaker with the first 3 or 4 reps, and then you're trying to push through in a fatigue state instead of using actual heavy weight to do it. Muscular fatigue causes technical breakdown. Okay? Muscular fatigue is going to cause technical breakdown. It's not the same thing as being fairly fresh and using your nervous system to maximally fire against a truly heavy weight. It is absolutely not the same thing. And that's something that's been noted. Coaches out there who noticed that, who've been in this game a long time, I've heard guys like Dave Tate say it, saying, look, heavy fives, that's where people get hurt. People don't get hurt on 1 rep maxes. It's relatively rare. If you know how to train and you ramp up carefully, unless there is an overuse issue going on, we usually don't get hurt on our 1 rep maxes, especially if we have safeties in place, or use spotters or whatever. It's fairly rare. Unless you're doing something really dumb. Like if you have your elbows flared, wear it out and have internal rotation of your shoulder on the bench press, okay, that's different. But if you know how to tuck your elbows, you don't get hurt on max pressing for the most part, even if you miss a lift. Okay? If you have good range of motion, if you train full range of motion and you know basic movement patterns, you don't get hurt. Because you're focused. You're focused on a bar path and you know what you're doing. We make mistakes when we get fatigued. In the case of missing a 1 rep max, it's your nervous system simply cannot recruit enough motor units to lock it. People get hurt doing heavy fives. Singles are actually safer. Even with a heavier weight, they're safer. So the problem we run into there is that trying to do heavy fives to build your maximum strength, number one, it's not heavy enough to build maximum strength. I don't care what you can exert for effort when you're fatigued and you're in muscular fatigue. We need to be concerned with how much can we exert maximally, period. And weight on the bar and the amount of weight that is applied and tension on the various muscles at the different joint angles matters. It matters a lot. That's how we build maximum strength. Number two, because of the fatigue created, your risk of injury is higher. And it's done in an effort to create fatigue for hypertrophy. That's the whole point. Guys who are doing fives are like, yeah, but we can do enough volume to grow off of while lifting still heavy. And again, that's fine for a novice lifter to work great in your first year in the gym, maybe your second year. It'll work phenomenally well if the training volume from it's high enough. But at a certain threshold, and you get decently strong, it's really hard to do enough fives. It is really difficult to do enough 5 rep sets to get the training volume in that you need for maximum hypertrophy. And even for the strength athlete, maximum hypertrophy is a requirement to continue to get stronger. You can only do so much with neuromuscular efficiency and speed, strength, and technique. At a certain point, you're just going to have to maximize hypertrophy. And that's going to mean more training volume, which means you're going to have to do more rep work and more supplemental lifts So you might as well just get used to that idea, guys. Save the 5s for the novices. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.